you wanted the best, you've got the best podcast. The hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
Hello, this is Voss here from thechrisvossshow.com. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Our latest Things That Makes It Official. Welcome to 16 years, 3,000 episodes of the oldest broadcasting podcast still in business after all these years, doing daily is the key there, daily metrics, doing daily shows. So one a handful still left. So support the show, darn it. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss for your family, friends, and relatives. Facebook.com/Chris Voss. YouTube.com/Chris Voss. And whatever the hell else I'm at on the internet.
Opinions expressed by guests on the podcast are solely their own and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the host or the Chris Voss Show. Some guests of the show may be advertising on the podcast, but it is not an endorsement or review of any kind.
Today we have an amazing young man on the show, and he's talking about his life, his memoir, his book, etc., etc. His book is entitled Reaching for the Sky, out May 22nd, 2026 by Tom Sawyer. He's still alive, ladies and gentlemen. He came back once in the original Mark Twain book, and he's back again. We're going to get into it with him, find out his deeds, find out everything about his life, and I don't know, maybe we'll move into his place. Tom, welcome to the show. How are you, sir?
Thank you. Appreciate you asking me on the show.
Thank you for coming. Give us .com's websites. Where do you want people to find out more about you on the interwebs? Give us your .coms, Tom. Where can people find out more about you on the interwebs?
About my book?
Yeah. Do you have a website, a .com? Do you have a website? I
have to apologize to the listeners, viewers, that I'm a little hard of hearing from my Vietnam service. So
all right.
I have to have you repeat a question.
No problem. So give us your .coms, your website. Do you have a website or social media you want people to see you on the interwebs?
My book is right now on Amazon and Kindle, and also Barnes & Noble bookstores.
All right. And there'll be a link for that on the show. Give us a 30,000 overview of what's in your book, Reaching for the Sky.
I'll tell you, the premise of the book really is sliding doors, the opportunities that come up, the choices that we make daily. Sometimes they're trivial, sometimes they can be life-changing. And those things played such a large part of my life and all of the different jobs that I had over the course of my careers. And even the fact that I'm here today is all by choices that people made in the past.
Now, you write this book as a memoir. Tell us kind of your life and story. Tell us kind of maybe some of the humble beginnings and what you end up doing at Hollywood and maybe the influence Hollywood had on you and your family.
Yeah. Born in Hollywood, 1944, right in the middle of World War II, while my father was overseas, and didn't see my father till I was a year old, and he came home, and luckily we have a photo of that when I met my father for the first time.
You're like, I'm your son.
Yeah,
like, how'd that happen? That must have been a wild time, because back then they were worried in Hollywood about, or the West Coast of California, they were worried about getting bombed or, some submarine sneaking up on us out there. It's kind of an issue.
They had the food rations and rations for a lot of different things. Of course, the women started doing a lot of men's jobs while the men were overseas. So there was a lot of things happening at that time.
Yeah. I think they even had like an army base out on, what's the island? Catalina Island or Long Beach or something like that, maybe? I don't know. Going from my memory. You're kind of raised in a little bit of a Hollywood family, aren't you? Or do I have that right?
Yeah, my grandfather was a movie director in the 20s to the 1930s, from silent films into the talkies. And he worked with Rudolph Valentino, Lon Chaney Jr., and a lot of the Western stars at that time. And luckily, living in Hollywood with my grandfather there, I was able to meet a lot of these people.
Wow.
When I was younger. It was such a pleasure.
That's pretty cool. And you're just a little kid. So I did you ever look at him and you meet him and then you see him later on the TV or whatever and you're like, how the hell did they get in there?
Yeah, it was definitely a very interesting time, but I was so young at that point. I don't remember very much of it.
Man,
We
you're just
moved
like,
to
well, this seems cool.
Valley when I was about 5.
Uh-huh.
We moved out of Hollywood to the wilderness that the San Fernando Valley was in the 1950s.
Yeah.
So,
That was before Thor showed up and all that stuff there.
yeah. Edgar Rice Burroughs, author of Tarzan, owned a ranch there. And when he sold that off for development of houses, they called it Tarzana. So that's one of the areas of the San Fernando Valley.
I did not know that's why it was called Tarzana. That's wild.
Edgar Rice Burroughs farm right at the end of our block. We were on Pettit Street off of Ventura Boulevard. Our first, which my dad bought, I think it was $200 with a $50 down payment. So
there you go. How do you cross this journey? You're growing up in this world of Hollywood. I was born and raised in Hollywood too, and it's a wild time because you kind of think everyone lives that way. Like everyone drives a Mercedes, BMW, or Rolls Royce, or Bentley, or Ferrari, or something. You just see them on every corner, so you're kind of skewed a little bit on.
Yeah, definitely.
You're like, is everybody a movie star? I thought it was a movie
Yeah,
star.
that's why movie stars to me, I don't even think about them. Or some people, they're running for an autograph.
Yeah, you're like, what?
I've seen the biggest and the best.
Yeah. And so then somewhere you make the transition as you grow up to become in the field of news. Tell us about how you got into that.
When I left high school, I joined the U.S. Navy, and my first service was in Hawaii. And I worked for a group called the VR-21, Tactical Support Squadron, VR-21. And then I became the base survival swim instructor. And I taught Navy pilots survival swimming in combat situations, burning oil swims, concussion swims, things like that. And they had to go through my course to be on flight status. And flight status, of course, meant extra money, bonus money for being under difficult situations.
Yeah.
But then I left there, and I was served 2.5 years on an aircraft carrier, USS Hancock, with 2 deployments to Yankee Station, Vietnam. I was in V-2 Division catapults, launching air attacks against North Vietnam. And that's where I lost some of my hearing on the flight deck.
That'll do it. Now, those jets, when they take off,
So after the Navy, I was in college and heard about a job in deep sea diving. And I looked at it, and it looked like those guys made a hell of a lot of money. So I ended up going to a deep sea diving school, became a hard hat deep sea diver, and I was a scuba diving instructor. Did that for a while. And then all of a sudden an opportunity came up, actually for my mother. I was attending college and having lunch with her, and she said, I just read an article in the paper in the Valley at Pierce College, and they're having a summer course in broadcasting that's going to be taught by a real disc jockey, and you get to see some radio stations, tour them, and learn about the business. And my mother said, you've got a nice voice. You should think about broadcasting. Never thought about broadcasting in my life. But I thought, what the hell, I'll go take the course. So I did. Went to KNKO in Thousand Oaks and an outside mall area. And the radio station had a big window with seats outside so people could sit, watch the disc jockey and doing his program. And he had a suit on and tie, doing his radio program. KNKO. And I thought, wow, that is so cool. So that's going on. And then they had 2 people come out from the Don Martin School of Radio and Television in Hollywood. And they talked about their program. And they said, and if you're a veteran, your veterans benefits can pay for it.
Oh.
And I thought, what the hell?
Yeah, that's a good deal.
I'm going to go to radio school.
Yeah.
I don't know what I was thinking. Crazy.
Yeah.
So I went to radio school and actually got my first job in LA, which was just unbelievable, at KJOY in Beverly Hills. It was my first job, a totally automated radio station at that time.
Oh, really?
A station playing beautiful music, or a lot of people called it elevator music. And we had a big automation system, and we would voice the news and different things in the booth, and then put the carts into the automation system. Then over time, it transitioned into live, and things changed. And then I left there. I worked for Coast, had a talk show on KMPC.
Oh, wow.
Television at Channel 22, KWHY TV. I was news director and morning anchor. And then I was on KZLA Country Music Radio. Did that for 5 years. Had interviewing a lot of the music stars when they came through town on my mid-morning show. And so spent a lot of time in radio before I got my first job with a group called Shadow Broadcasting. And our competition in LA was Metro, and they did traffic reports. And so I joined that group. And as part of that, they had people that were airborne, both fixed wing and helicopter. And I told our CEO there, I said, I'm interested in flying. And they said, well, okay, we'll train you, and maybe you could do some filming work for them. One of the gals that was flying got pregnant. And so they said, Tom, we want you to fill in for her while she takes maternity leave. And then, of course, when she has the child, she'll come back, and then you'll go back in the studio and do traffic. Okay, great. It turns out she had twins. And we found that taking care of twins and trying to do a split shift, traffic and news, she said it was too much. She retired. And I moved into the full-time spot in 1992. Wow. And 15 years later, I retired at 65 in 2009. 17 years flying over Southern California doing news. I did the Northridge earthquake.
Oh, wow.
The big fire of 93.
Yeah.
I was up flying during 9/11. I was right over down LA when we first heard the report of one of the jets into one of the Twin Towers. And at that point, I'm sitting in the aircraft thinking to myself, oh, what a terrible accident. A plane hit one of the Twin Towers. And we're continuing on a little bit longer, and they go, a second plane just hit. And I went, oh. Yeah. And that's when we got the word, head back to Van Nuys Airport immediately and land. And so we went back. And all of the reporters and pilots and everybody, we went into the pilot's lounge, turned the TV on, and watched as Twin Towers crumbled, and it changed everything.
Yeah, it really did. I remember they took everything out, or they were trying to take everything out of the sky that was still flying because no one knew what.
We used to be able to, in fact, we did several years flying over the Rose Parade. I was over the Rose Bowl doing reports on the parade. After 9/11, we couldn't fly over any areas that had a large concentration of people. Disneyland, the Rose Parade, we couldn't do any of that. Wow. And after 9/11, we didn't fly for 2 weeks. And then when we could fly, we had a corridor that we could only fly. I could go from Van Nuys Airport out the 210 into Riverside, another flight plan, and then back to Van Nuys. I couldn't fly over downtown LA or anything for at least 2 weeks after 9/11.
Wow.
That was
a crazy time. If you cover those earthquakes and stuff, there's probably we've probably all heard you maybe on the radio doing the call out for what's going on because traffic in LA.
Yeah, it's gotten worse year after year. It was bad when I was
worse when I was a kid at 68.
But I'll tell you, the interesting thing is that I talk about all of these things. And the reason I wrote the book is 5 years after I retired, I thought I had seen so much over my 17 years of flying that I didn't want to just forget about it. And I thought, I've got to write this stuff down. I've seen too much pursuits. And we were shot at during a pursuit. The guy was shooting at the helicopters out of his car. We crashed at Fullerton Airport. So much had happened over those 17 years, I had to write it down. Yeah. And while I was doing that, I thought I'll add the rest of my broadcast career. I'll add Vietnam. And it turned out to be over 300 pages with over 150 colored photos in my book.
Wow.
Flying over a lot of these things of Vietnam, everything.
Wow.
And so I'm very proud. It took 10 years to complete my book because of the amount of research I had to do in the book for times, places, things that happened over all of those times. Oh. I had to get everything right, and that's what took so much time. So 10 years from when I started till I had that book in my hand.
With the journey. Congratulations, though. A life well lived. And certainly the adventures you have flying around LA have got to always be interesting. And they always have those long ass guys who are running in their car, taking off. And and get shot. That's great.
I had some pretty wild ones. One all the way to the Mexican border that I did.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I did on KFWB. As the guy is approaching the border, and I see all of the cars backed up crossing the border into Mexico, and I'm thinking, oh, he'll stop right there and they'll arrest him. And so I called KFWB and I said, boys, things are happening here. And they go, okay, let's go live. And I'm live with the anchor at KFWB describing everything as the guy all of a sudden goes onto the sidewalk, goes toward the border, jumps out of there. He has his child that he kidnapped from his ex-wife.
Oh, wow.
And he's running for the Mexican border. He drops the child into the arms of a police officer. And the Mexican police stopped him at the border and then turned him back into the police. He thought getting into Mexico would save him, and that is not the case. But we did that all live on KFWB.
Yeah, many times you guys in the air were the eyes and ears of the police. Sometimes I think maybe during the Bronco. Did you ever cover the white Bronco?
No, actually, I was off that day, and thankfully because that was a slow pursuit.
Yeah, that would have been really. He's moving 10 miles an hour.
Yeah. And especially if you're in an airplane, because sometimes I'd be in a Cessna 172.
Oh, really?
You can't stop like in the helicopter. You got to keep moving and drop out of the sky.
Yeah.
And so you have to do orbits, and and
then you have to dodge all the other news helicopters and the police helicopters, probably. You probably have to dodge all the news helicopters and the other helicopters from the police as well, huh?
And that's the thing. When you're covering pursuits or fires and things like that, you have a lot of aircraft around you. Remember, we did one in Orange County up a canyon where a car had gone over the side and a sky crane was going to come over to pick it up. And we had about 5 helicopters all going around this really small space with this drop-off canyon down below us. And I had to keep watching the other helicopters while I'm doing my reports, trying to keep my concentration on what I'm doing, but I'm watching these other people that we're all like hornets coming around this very tight canyon. So, but along with all of those kinds of things, some of the fires that I covered over the years, Ortega fire and Malibu, all of those, and even the big fire that happened quite a few years ago above La Cañada Flint Ridge and burned thousands of acres. And I was the first one over that, reporting there and on KNX News Radio as well. I also, in my book, I have all of the funny stories that happen, the weird things that makes it really funny.
Yeah.
I certainly had a lot of those things. If we have time, one of the funny things is that we were flying and we were going over Pasadena. I'm doing traffic. There wasn't much news going on. And I'm in the helicopter and we're flying. And my house is in Arcadia and I'm just south of the freeway, about a little less than a mile. So I'm flying on the 210, doing traffic, and I look over at my house as we pass by. I see cars all the way around it and people in my backyard. I go, what the hell is going on here? So we go over there, we're hovering right over the house, and kids are scattering and jumping over the walls and everything.
Wow.
Later on, my daughter, Stephanie, she said, Dad, when you flew over the house in the helicopter and she looked up and going, oh my God, it's my dad.
So was it a party being held at your house?
I caught her doing a little beer party in the middle of the day.
Oh, Dad's working, so let's party.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the way to get busted, man.
So I caught her.
Yeah. It comes. That's funny as hell. You got just probably amazing stories. I remember that used to be a thing to do when you lived in LA, man. You watch the car chases and you watch the helicopter going over, and some of those guys, they drive forever, man, on those car chases. And so it's that, and then you gotta have the weather or the traffic report, right, and all that good stuff. So what do you hope people come away with as they read your book?
One of the things that a couple of people that have read my book, they were impressed with it, and they thought it made me think about maybe I should write something about my life. One of the things when I look back at my ancestry, even my grandfather in the motion picture business, he didn't write his memoirs. He was a writer. Oh, wow. So I only know what he did. I don't know anything about his private life. What it was like working with Rudolph Valentino, what it was like, all of those things. I missed that. And all of my relatives going back, my ancestry, nobody wrote about anything. Wow. So they were born, they died, and that's all I know. So I thought to myself, I don't want to do that. I want to write for my family, my grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and down the line so that people know what I did in my life and something I wish my ancestors would have done for me.
Yeah.
And it's made other people think about it, that maybe that's something that I should do.
Yeah. It's too bad because those would have been some probably great stories with Valentino and all those folks. Now, you're working on a second book, right, for some of these stories of your grandfather, I think?
Yeah, I'm writing after I completed this book, which I'll tell you, I had never written a book before, and writing this book was a little hellish. Almost a couple of times. But after I completed it and I had it in my hand, I thought, you know what? I really enjoyed doing this. And so now I'm writing a sci-fi book called Voyage to the Blue Planet. And it's about people escaping from a planet, and they actually end up landing on Earth during the Pleistocene, during the Ice Age. So there are mammoths and there are all of that. So that's what I'm working on right now. And
it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. And also I'm been doing a lot of research on my grandfather and all of the movies he did and the people he worked with. And I'm thinking of writing a separate book about the movie business from the silent film era, and then that very quick transition to the talkies of the 1930s. And that whole transition, that was pretty major. It's interesting that the people in Europe had a little different feeling about it. They were a little hesitant to go to the talkies because they felt silent films were more artistic. And so they hesitated. But, the public outcry was so great that it didn't take very long for them to change as well. And the silent era ended very quickly.
Oh, yeah, I remember it ended, and then you had the black and whites for a long time, and then you had the colored film. I grew up with the black and whites, and I have a deep appreciation for black and white photography and film.
There we go.
I'm a big Bogey fan.
Yeah.
Big, huge Bogey fan. And so the way they use the color and storytelling, especially before they started the talkies, when you had just the silent films, there's a lot they had to be able to project and storytell without talking, and just body actions and stuff. And
the thing is that silent films are not dead. There are groups that really enjoy silent films. There's a film group called Silent Film Aficionados.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and they wrote a very nice thing about my grandfather, and that's some of the information that I have, because this one gentleman did some great research on my grandfather, stuff that I didn't even know about.
Oh, wow.
Filming in Algiers and different things that he did. He was a real expert at color photography, and he was an expert on taking care of the celluloid of the film. He would preserve it carefully after it was filmed. And that especially was helpful when he was in Algiers, of course, in the desert with that kind of the temperatures and everything.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. As we go out, give people a final pitch out to pick up your book, where they can find it, any .coms or websites as we go out.
Yeah, I think that would be, they'll find it very interesting. And I think adding the photos in there adds a lot. Everybody I've talked to, at first we had them in black and white. And then my wife and I looked at it, and we had thought about it. We thought, you know what, we're going to do it in color.
Yeah.
And so all of the photos in there, except maybe one or two, are all in color. And I think that adds, if a picture is worth 1,000 words, then I've got a lot of words.
Tom, it's been wonderful to have you on, and we love your previous work with Huckleberry Finn. And I'll never forget that scene where Tom Sawyer and his buddy come back from the dead. They're at the church, and they all think he's dead, and they come walking in. So anyway, it's great to have Tom Sawyer on my show, and I'm going to go see Rush this weekend and listen to some Tom Sawyer being played.
Yeah.
Moving Pictures, their album. So anyway, thank you very much, Tom, for coming on the show. We really appreciate it.
I appreciate you talking to me.
Thank you.
Pleasure. And I hope people can buy the book, or at least look at it, do an ebook or whatever, and then enjoy it.
So thank you, Tom. Thanks, John, for tuning in. Order up his book wherever fine books are sold. There'll be a link for it on the Chris Voss Show. Reaching for the Sky, out May 22nd, 2026 by Tom Sawyer. Thanks, John, for tuning in. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss, Chris Voss1 on the TikTokity, and all those crazy places on the internet. Be good to each other. Stay safe. We'll see you next time.
You've been listening to the most amazing, intelligent podcast ever made to improve your brain and your life. Warning, consuming too much of the Chris Voss Show podcast can lead to people thinking you're smarter, younger, and irresistible sexy. Consume in regularly moderated amounts. Consult a doctor for any resulting brain bleed.